All right, welcome into Market Day Report. I'm Scott Schulte, otherwise known as the Cow Guy. Thank you very much for tuning us in here on, it's going to be a bonus February day, right? The 29th. I wish I was born on this day because I'd only be about 18 years old. So how about that? Let's move along and see what these markets have got in store for us overnight. It wasn't very good, folks. I can tell you right now that when I did the radio show just a little while ago, we had some red on the screen, and we still do. March closed down 1.5 cents overnight. 4.11 3/4 is last there, but the May was down 3 cents to 4.25.5. So the euphoric feeling we've had over the last few days is waning, and that's because if we move along to the next one, bad export sales. We had some deliveries. Soybeans taking it on the chin. March beans went down by 14 3/4 cents to 11.19 1/4. Look at that, folks. We've got a risk of going through $11 in the March before it goes off. How about the May? That's down 13 cents to 11.32 1/4, and that's just 2 cents off the low overnight too. So that didn't do too well. Let's see what the wheat's got in store for us. It was also in the red the last time we checked, and it closed there, I guess was what we should say properly. March down 3 cents to 5.68 in the May, and Chicago was down 2 cents to 5.72 3/4. So between 2 and 3 cents lower when we talk about the wheat overnight, and that's in Chicago. From Chicago, we go to the hard red in Kansas City. That's down about the same, about 3 cents. We have March, the front month, only down 1.5 cents to 5.94, but everything else is off between 3 and 3/4 cents. May's down 3 cents to 5.78. So that's what's happening overnight in the hard red in Kansas City. Let's go over to see what we've got happening in spring wheat. That's down 2 3/4 cents in that March contract. 6.49 is the price there. Everything else down about a penny. We can go to the May. That's off a penny to 6.55. So that was very, very quiet. All the way out to DSET, too, was down a penny to 6.79.5. But that also is the low of the day. We only had not even a penny range. So I don't want to make too big a deal about that. Let's take a look at cotton. Cotton was on fire yesterday. Front month, well, I don't like this. Oh, the front month didn't open up. See that? We were down 285 points, 98.23. That's May. So that's what we had happening overnight. Let's bring in somebody that can make sense of it all for us. He's got his little financial and commodity map. He can navigate the ways for us, and that's Mr. Brian Hoops with Midwest Market Solutions. He's the president down there, and he's in Springfield, Missouri. You know what? You're probably one of the only guys that's not in Houston right now. What happened?
Hey, well, somebody's got to be here to answer the phones, you know. So.
Well, next time, maybe she'll let you go down. How about that?
Yeah, there you go. There's the answer.
All right. What do you got for us today? What do you think?
Well, you know, you talked about some of the main highlights this morning. Soybeans making new lows for the move here, and just pretty disappointing. If you're a bull in the soybean market, you have to be disappointed with the market way it's been acting. 2 days ago, we were trading May beans around 11.60, and we're 30 cents off that high, including the overnight. But you look at the fundamentals. Deliveries much larger than expected. Over 700 contracts of soybeans being delivered last night. The export sales out this morning, although they weren't the terrible number we saw last week, they're not very good. 5.9 million bushels of soybeans sold last week, and that includes China buying 5.7 million, but also there was cancellations once again. Over 14 million bushels of the unknown destination category canceled soybean purchases last week. We saw 21 million the week before, another 14 this week. So, you know, those numbers are starting to pile up, and I think they're going to probably continue if we continue working lower here in our values. Those higher price purchases will get canceled, replaced with some cheaper purchases that may be of South American variety. So that's why the soybean market here kind of crumbling, probably headed towards that $11 mark as you alluded to in the March contract, where we may go off the board and hopefully we can hold $11 and don't have a 10 handle in front of it.
Well, everybody's gotten that. I spoke to some people that were down at Commodity Classic yesterday. Everybody's walking around with a little bit of pep in their step because it looks like some of these markets may have carved out a low. But you know what? I don't know. I mean, you got to be careful about getting too excited too early. We still have like that negative news out there too. Number one, and number two is that, don't you find out with export sales, I don't think they stop a market from going lower and they don't stop a market from going higher. But if you've got a market that's already trending higher and they come out real big, it will kind of be a little bit more juice. Or if you've got a market that's going lower and they come out real small, it's another reason for them to go down. But it's not the real reason. It just adds to the reason. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely correct. Yeah, it's not something that you really can trade on a daily basis, but it's an indication of the trend of the market. Corn, I think, has a little bit more of a fundamental story than what the soybeans do from the standpoint. Higher cotton values that you were mentioning, the sharply higher values we've seen this week, we may steal some acres from the corn market down in Texas where they're starting to plant corn, may start to move some of that into cotton. Plus, you have dryness possibility where they're planting that safrinha corn crop. Mato Grosso is a little bit dry. That supports corn, but they're harvesting soybeans, so it really doesn't help that market out at all. It just kind of helps the harvest advance a little bit quicker.
All right, stay right there. We need to go away. We're going to pay some bills. We're going to come back and talk more with Mr. Brian Hoops. He's down in Springfield, Missouri. We'll be right back after this. All right, welcome back to Market Day Report. I almost said commodity wrap kickoff. I got too many shows going on and my brain's frazzled, so whatever it is, just smile and nod. That's how we get through life. Let's talk about livestock, though. What did we do yesterday, right? Don't get me caught up in this one. I always keep thinking we're open and we're not. So this is yesterday's closes, if it means anything to you. We were down about $1.50 across the board in live cattle, right? Look at that. April's down $1.60. We closed at 186.12. You go all the way out to the deferreds, we lose less. I guess that's the most positive thing I can say. October's down $1.25 to 184.85. All right, how about feeder? Well, they were lower too yesterday, and they were lower by a little bit more. We got a March board down $3.40 to 249.60, just below that 250 level. And as you go out the deferreds, again, we lose a little bit less, but not a lot less. So it's a $2.47 loss in the SEP to 268.35. All right, so that's what the feeders did for us. We were down between, say, 2.5 and 380 when it comes to losses in dollars. Lean hogs, they were higher, but not by much. They just tried to stay a dime higher in April. I guess we can celebrate that because it's in the right direction. But 86 was last close there. And if you go all the way out to August, we're up 47 cents to 100.65. All right, let's bring back in Mr. Brian Hoops. Brian, thanks for sticking around so diligently. I don't know. How do you read this one? I mean, a little bit of down day yesterday. What's it look like for this morning?
So I think in the cattle market, we saw that downward move yesterday, partially because the cash trade that developed at 183, that's just too much of a discount to where the futures are. And with cash isn't coming up, futures needed to come down a little bit. And we saw a little correction in the April contract as a result. February goes off the board today. There was also a possible double top on the June live cattle, and technicals aren't the be-all, end-all for cattle market, but it was probably enough to give us that correction. And, most corrections in a bull market are healthy. And so we may see a little bit more correction. There's not much really to talk about as far as export sales this morning, 12 million tons were shipped out. Just not anything that catches your attention one way or the other about what we've been doing on a routine basis. So looking for more cash trade develop probably in that 183 area. You could see a little bit more of a correction here this morning, I think. But, if you correct $2-3 in the cattle market, it's going to catch a lot of attention. I think there'll be a lot of buying interest on a further technical correction here in this market.
All right, real quick, we got about 30 seconds. I have to ask, your son graduated, right? No more football in the fall. What are you going to do?
Sir.
What are you going to do now when that
That's
happens?
what I'm wondering. There's nothing to do.
You don't have another kid in the box ready to get going, huh?
Oh, sir, it's all over. I guess you're just going to watch on TV from now on. So
right. Then you might end up looking like me if that happens. So be careful, okay? So
yes, sir. I'm well on the way. Trust me.
See, he didn't deny it. I love that about him. All right. Thank you very much, Brian. Brian Hoops, Springfield, Missouri. Thanks for being on the show. Bring it back here to Tammy and hand it back over.